Give us 1 second.
Oh, snap, we live. What's going on, y'all? Give us a second, man. We got some technical difficulties. Since we get those straight, we can be right with you. Got an interesting topic for y'all tonight. We're going to be talking about prolific polarity. Okay? Gotta get your thinking caps on for this. Might be a dub, bro.
Give us 1 second.
Yeah, we almost there.
Oh, it's ready now.
Almost got it, y'all.
30 seconds.
He almost got it. That stand is giving the business right now. He almost got it, though.
Oh, man.
Look like you're taking an L, though.
Hey. Alright. You know what? We're gonna do it a little different this time.
I mean, just leave it there, bro. Like, want to keep it waiting too long. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So I'm gonna just hop on the Instagram like this.
Right.
Alright, what's up, everybody? We are back again for episode 5 of Mental Radar. Today we're going a little bit different today. So we're gonna go with a more of a deep topic today, where we're gonna be talking about prolific polarity. So for this one, call all your intellectual friends, and this is the one that they want to tune into. So we're gonna go a little bit beyond the surface today. It's cool with you?
Absolutely, bro. Hey, man, you know this is the type of thing I get down with, so it's all great.
All right, bet. Okay, cool. So, oh yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself. We should do that.
Man, once more, you know, keeping it consistent. Back again, you know, I'm Jaquil Chavis. Back here with my man.
Yeah. Once again, it's me, Keith McLeod. Hello, world. And
I'm glad you did the wave.
can you hear me now on Instagram? Is it better? Okay. All right, cool. So yeah, like you said, we're talking about prolific polarity. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. What's your definition of polarity?
Man, this is an interesting one, man. Polarity, though, with respect to what it represents, the idea of polarity would be descriptive of maybe like two aspects of thought that exist, or two aspects of consciousness that exist in the same body of thought. You know, and usually it has like opposite meanings. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
What's your definition of it?
Yeah, I would call polarity pretty much the basic idea that two different things or two different ways of thought can exist at the same time within the same person or the same circumstance.
Right, in the same space.
Yeah.
Right. So, man, like we I think on this one we're gonna have to give examples. So imagine that. So what I want to say first is I want to say that polarity is something that impacts all of our lives in a very, very powerful way. And a lot of people may not even be, you know, privy to how serious and how impactful polarity is on our lives. When it comes to how it impacts our lives, I mean, it can go down to how you decide and the decision-making process that you have to move forward. So if you've experienced one thing, okay, and the thing that you experienced was maybe unfavorable, or it maybe had, you know, a negative impact on you, and it caused you to make a decision about how you want to move forward that is reflective of the complete opposite of what you went through, that's polarity. You know, like polarity impacts how you move, what you think, how you want to move forward, like what your desires are in life. If you were, you know, someone that say you may have experienced a father that was absent, you know, and you grow up, and as a father, you apply yourself in an extra way to be present, or, you know, in an extra way to make sure that you don't do the same thing that you experienced. Or if you had a mom that wasn't affectionate, you know, or a parent that wasn't affectionate, and you grow up to be an overly affectionate person, that's polarity, you know. Like, it literally impacts our lives in interesting ways. What you got, man? What you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, what I'll say, the interesting thing about polarity is it's much bigger than I can even say, than I can even encompass, because it affects so many aspects of our lives that we don't even think about. You know, like, polarity is, you know, I wanted to take it back to the basic idea of, you know, you got the angel on your shoulder and you got the devil on your shoulder. Like, a lot of us, we don't like to identify with the fact that there is a part of us that doesn't always make the proper decision. You know, we got ideas that we might do things for selfish reasons sometimes, and, you know, sometimes we might do things for good reasons, but all of that exists within us, and sometimes people just don't acknowledge that. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I think that this is an important topic to talk about, because it's not anything bad. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. We all go through that. You know, that's the great story of life, just balancing your opposites, you know, your opposite poles.
Here's the most important aspect of polarity, right? Mm-hmm. Because polarity has an impact on why we are the way we are, mm-hmm. I think it's important to really understand how polarity, like, weaves into our psyche, because one of the most focused on aspects of existence in general is understanding ourselves and understanding why we operate the way we do, understanding what motivates our movement, what motivates our desires, what inspires our tendencies, right? So polarity is one of the things that does that. It's one of the things that literally affects how we decide to be, how we decide to move, what we decide to build. You know what I'm saying? Like, what we decide to accomplish in life. Like, all of these things are affected by that aspect of polarity, not by itself, but one of the components, okay, right, that affects that, right?
Yeah. And the interesting thing about polarity is it's not something that's readily identifiable. It's not like, you know, you can tell you know, if I was showing compassion today, you can just go back and review your day and see if you were showing compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Polarity and the path that you choose is something that builds over time. It's not just something that happens, you can change it tomorrow. Like, it's literally a part of your fiber, the fiber of your being. And it continues to develop as you develop, based on the choices that you make, based on the habits that you develop, based on how you live your life. Your polarity is either going to take you in one direction or another. Mm-hmm. Now, it's debatable which of those directions is right or wrong, or to some it is, but I mean, I guess you want to touch on that before I can go any further?
I mean, it's all impact. You know what I'm saying? Like, right and wrong is subjective, of course, but your experiences dictate your understanding of what is right and wrong, or dictate your perception of what is right and wrong. All right, so that's why, you know, I touched on that a little bit earlier about, you know, how something that you went through can, like, spur a thought or spur you to move forward in a certain way. Real quick, I'm gonna get back to that, but real quick, I wanna pose, you know, an activity for our viewers. Like,
okay.
Go ahead and share in the comments, you know, a time where you went through something that, if you're comfortable with it, of course, you know, but a time that you went through something where, you know, it spurred you or motivated you to act the exact opposite way. You know, it could be anything. It could be a time where you were hurt, you know, by a person, and that pain caused you to want to do things differently, or caused you to want to be the change that you wanted to see. Right? That's also a component. That little saying, "Be the change you want to see." That's motivated by negative experiences that you want to turn positive.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay.
Literally the opposite end of the spectrum.
Right.
Polarity is literally that big of an impact. Has that big of an impact in our lives.
Okay.
But in terms of right or wrong, man, like, we can't, like, that's a very subjective. that's a very subjective thing, you know. But our experiences dictate what we think are right and wrong. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I got on that.
Okay. Well, you know, I kind of want to touch on the right or wrong, because that's pretty much what polarity is. If you look at, you have good versus evil,
Mm-hmm.
you have yin and yang, and then, you know, if you want to go even deeper, you got love versus fear.
Oh yeah. Ooh.
So,
Ooh.
yeah, I mean, pretty much, if you want to talk about that.
Can love exist in the presence of fear?
No.
That's a, you know, that, I'm just saying, that's crazy, but, you know, I'm gonna let you continue. Like,
Do you think you can?
look, man, love cannot, in my opinion, love cannot fully blossom, and this is polarity as well. Love and fear, you know, opposite ends of the spectrum. Love cannot fully blossom and fully mature and fully develop in the presence of fear.
Okay.
Fear is a debilitating emotion. Fear is something that it causes paralysis, okay? And love is all about fluidity. Love is all about motion. Love is all about development and growth. That can't happen if you're paralyzed by fear. Interesting segue, but go ahead, you know?
I mean, yeah, well, I would say pretty much love can't exist at all in fear. Every decision that we make in our life is based off one or two things. You either do it because you love to do it, or you fear the consequences of what will happen if you don't do it.
Exactly.
So, you know, they don't coexist. They are the complete opposite. When you do something in love, it's inspired. It makes you feel good. You're ready to do it. Like, you get active. When you're afraid of something, or you're working outside of fear, then it immobilizes you.
Right.
Fear immobilizes people, and the crazy part is it only exists in your mind. You know, it's your decision which side of the pole you want to lean towards. But if you're living your life in fear, everything is going to be fearful. Nothing's going to develop, because you can't manifest from that state. You're in a lower vibration.
Right.
So, you know, it's not helping you at all to be scared of anything.
True.
What do you feel about that?
Man, look, honestly, fear is, of all the emotions, and I know I may be getting a little bit away from, you know, what we're talking about. But honestly, like, of all the emotions, I think fear is the most debilitating. Because fear is something that prevents movement. And life, in my opinion, is all about movement. It's all about the river. Okay, we think of life like a river. The river is ever flowing. The river is ever moving. It's ever growing. It's ever flowing forward. Right?
Okay.
Fear is something like a dam. The dam prevents the river from moving, which creates a stagnant body of water. Correct? Fear does the same thing for your energy in life. Right?
Okay.
It creates a blockage in the flow of your energy. And that creates vibrational stagnation.
Elaborate on that. What is vibrational stagnation?
Right. So, so our spirit desires to grow, and our spirit desires to move and evolve and develop.
Okay.
That's just a consistent trait of the spiritual self. You know, we are put here to grow and to evolve and to develop. Right? We're not put here to just be one way and stay the same our entire existence. We're put here to make motion and to create that movement, that ripple, okay, that stimulates growth and development. So vibrational stagnation is when we get so used to the same things and the same people and the same energy that we're not achieving that same level of growth. The spirit recognizes that. You understand what I'm saying? Like, the spirit recognizes when your growth is stagnated, all right? And that's what causes a lot of depression.
Yeah, that's... I wasn't even going to go there, but, you know, a lot of times...
I know we're moving a little bit away from...
Well, it's such a broad...
You know, it can lead into so many different things, man, but...
Yeah, it's such a broad topic, but, you know, most people don't understand how much control you actually have. Like, when you talk about, you know, depression or something like that. I mean, obviously, there's mental health disorders, but outside of that, we are 100% in control of our life.
Right.
Of your decisions, of which side of the pole you look towards.
Right.
So that is all up to you in regards to how you want to handle, you know, your depression or whatever we go through, because we all go through it. You know, there was a point in time where, at least in our culture, it wasn't okay to even talk about it. It was something that gets swept under the rug, or we don't speak about it. But I'm glad that we are evolving as a people, as a whole, and we can speak on these things now. But what we really need to do is just learn how to take control. And really, that leads me into my next question of what do you feel is the most important aspect of polarity as a human being?
Well, what I'll say is this. I think that with respect to what we should focus on, okay, in terms of the idea or the concept of polarity, we need to make sure, okay, that when we are developing our internal commitments and the things that we decide to commit to in life and the ideals that we commit to, we need to make sure and observe, okay, how these commitments are being established. Let me explain. Let me elaborate. Make sure your commitments aren't based on polarity influences. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but they have to be.
No, I'm saying, like, as long as you acknowledge and observe.
Okay.
As long as you are aware. All right. So that's really what it's about, is awareness. You need to be aware of where your commitments come from, where your desires are born.
So what about? I know we're going kind of off topic now, but what about your destiny?
Destiny can even be impacted, or your perception of destiny can be impacted by polarity. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so like,
for instance, if you are a person that suffered greatly at the hands of some form of abuse, right? You went through something as a child, in your teenage years, whatever the case may be, even if you're an adult, you know what I'm saying? You went through a traumatic experience, right? You may be the type of person that draws from that experience and decides, I'm going to be an activist against what I went through. Is that not destiny? Is your destiny not impacted by what you went through?
Well, yeah, it definitely is. I mean,
because now you're moving in a direction, right? And you're building something that is impacted by an opposite experience. So if you want to combat this and fight against it based on what you went through, that's polarity.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask a question.
Right.
Since you said it is based on the polarity, do you feel it's fair to say that destiny can become a coin flip based on your life experiences? Because, you know, you can choose the good or the bad.
I feel like, to be honest, I feel like destiny is not fixed. Let's get that out the way first.
Okay.
Right? Destiny, in my opinion, is not fixed. Destiny is an ever-evolving thing based on what you are exposed to. Your exposure and your experience dictate the flow of your life. Therefore, I believe that just saying that in and of itself, destiny cannot be fixed, right? Therefore, I feel like your destiny can be impacted by polarity based on what you've gone through.
I like how you brought it back.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you've gone through this. Had you never gone through that, had you never suffered as a result of that experience, you may not have taken the same path in life.
Right.
Therefore, your destiny would have been altered. It would be different.
Yeah, I mean, when you walk down a split road, you always have a choice on which way you want to go. So, you know, I definitely agree on that. But that also ties into polarity.
Exactly.
Which is why I chose this topic to speak about today, because
It's deep.
it affects all aspects of your life. I know I said that earlier, but I feel like it's important to repeat that. Like, polarity, it just affects who you are as a human being. And, you know, I'm not a big person to call it right or wrong because, like you said, that is subjective. But your belief system will dictate how you move, how you act, how you create, what you create, who you meet in your path, who you meet in your journey, who you help in your journey. If you choose to help anyone at all.
Right.
If you choose fear or love.
Right.
If you choose to be selfish or selfless.
Right.
All of that is based in polarity. And yeah, pass it back to you.
So,
read a comment real quick.
Good.
Go ahead.
All right. So I was just gonna say this. I think one of the most important aspects of life in general is getting to know yourself, why you are, how you are, you know what I'm saying, and why you operate the way you do, right? So based on the impact that polarity can have on your life, and based on, you know, how polarity can affect your decision-making process, I feel like it's important to observe this aspect of consciousness. It's very important, you know.
So yeah.
I feel like once we get to know ourselves more and we get to know like why we are the way we are, how we tick, we have a much more powerful understanding of how we are and how we move in this existence. You know, and I think that gives us greater control over our thoughts, greater control over our destination, greater control over what we build, what we affect, right? And understanding polarity is going to help in that process. Because so much of our lives is based on like being the opposite of what we've gone through.
Gotcha. All right,
You know what I'm
so
saying?
I would ask you, how do you feel polarity has affected you in your life? Like, when did you?
Oh my God.
When did you become like aware of it? Is probably the better question of polarity. And when did you start taking action to mold it?
Man, one of the main things about me is so let me start from the jump. I became aware of polarity when I started my specific spiritual journey, right? But when it came to the things that I experienced as a small child, I am the way I am now. You know, I have the ideas that I have now and the focus that I have now on my children because of the lack of involvement of my father. I will say that my father tried to change that later in life.
Okay.
When I got older, he tried to correct his mistakes. So this is not, you know, any kind of shot towards him or whatever like that. But I know when I was younger, I really wanted that. You know, I wanted that. It meant more to me when I was younger. That's what I'm saying. And now, as a man with kids of my own, I have a powerful focus on making sure that my kids don't go through the same thing I went through. You know, my kids are well taken care of. My kids are provided for. My kids know who their father is, and my kids have a powerful relationship with their father.
That's deep.
And I'm working on building that. I'm working on bettering myself so that I can, you know, move past the hindrances of my past, so that I can move past the things that I may not have been perfect in before and start developing better qualities to move towards that goal. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm ever changing, I'm ever evolving, and it's mostly due to the lack of that.
Okay.
That I had when I was young.
Okay, so
You know?
I can even hit that. You know, I'll speak on your experience a little bit. Obviously, you know, I'm not going to speak deeply. I wasn't there, but even that can be duality, because another person could have chosen to emulate that, you know, whatever experience that you had, instead of going to the opposite. That could have inspired a person or destined a person to end up doing the same thing, maybe not being around for their family or not participating in their kids' lives, or maybe feeling almost a badge of honor, like, hey, listen, you know, it made me tough, so perhaps this can make you tough.
That moves away from polarity, though. That moves into, you know, symmetrical influence.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you go through something and it causes you to want to do the same thing, that kind of moves away from polarity, and that moves into a different ballpark of, you know, that type of, you allow yourself to fall into the same vibrational patterns that you experience.
Yeah, I mean, it is an option, though, because it's two sides. So, you know, it's two sides. Like I said, it's not a coin flip, but it's two sides to every story. I mean, I guess for me...
So how has polarity impacted you? Because I think, you know, people want to hear from you as well. How has polarity impacted either your decision making, your positioning in life, your thought process, or how you as a whole decided to move forward in what you wanted to build as a man?
Okay, well, I got a good answer for that. So, since you gave a personal story, I'm going to dig into my vault, tell you a little bit about me. So, I want to relate it to my decision to actually become an entrepreneur.
Okay.
You know, like in my history, I don't necessarily come from an entrepreneurial background. So, as I grew up, it was go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a good job, keep it pushing and do that. Okay? But I never really felt good about it. Even when I was in school, they would say, hey, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? I didn't know an entrepreneur existed, so I was like, I don't know. Like, I never had a real answer. I mean, I would say, like, stuff, but, you know, it always changed, because what I wanted to be was an entrepreneur, and I wasn't introduced into entrepreneurship until I was in college.
Right.
Like, it was never spoke about in my school, and I'm just like, I never thought about it. It's like, you know, I understood that people ran businesses, but I knew I wanted to be the person running the business. I didn't want to be the person working, but that ideal wasn't necessarily instilled in me in my household. So when it came down to me being old enough and me making a decision to take an entrepreneurial path, you know, I wasn't greeted with flowers,
Okay.
so to speak. It wasn't like, oh, we support you 100%. It wasn't necessarily like that. It was more like, well, if you're going to do that, okay, but make sure that you have, you know, your job, or you got something to fall back on, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So for me, that was definitely a good aspect of polarity. And it really was just following my spirit versus following my training. Okay? Because although I was trained and I was groomed to do this specific thing my entire life, it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I always knew it wasn't what I wanted to do. But I had to continue to go down that path just because what else was I going to do? I didn't know there was another option. So I still remember, like, the first time where I heard, you know, a personal development book, and it literally changed my life forever. Like, I remember going to that seminar. I remember coming back a different person. I remember, like, drawing a line in the sand and literally taking a step over into a different life. So
that's powerful, man.
Yeah, that's an example of mine.
Hey, man, that's beautiful.
So
it's beautiful that, you know, it's beautiful when people can take undesirable or unfavorable experiences and they can build upon those experiences. They can take the energy of those experiences to fuel their progression and to fuel their movement forward. It's always a beautiful thing, man. I commend you for being able to do that, because not a lot of people, can kind of take where they are and what they've gone through and build something better.
Right.
Or build something that, challenges that narrative. And I definitely support you in that, bro.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, all day.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess we can pretty much be ready to wrap it up. I think we've been going for a while now.
I feel like we can go even longer, man, but,
Yeah, I don't want to, I know football's about to come on.
We don't want to inundate y'all. We know that this is the first day of the NFL season, okay? Like,
right.
We're not oblivious to that, okay? So,
right. Yeah.
We got to get to that, too, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. But, thank you guys for tuning in. Oh, before we do exit, I always like to, leave at least a little tidbit. So, what would you say is a good way that a person can identify polarity in their own life?
Honestly, I would just say that when it comes to polarity, you always want to make sure that the things that you are moving towards, you want to understand why you're going there. You want to understand what is the cause of your determination, what is the cause of, your desire to build a certain way forward for your life. And one of the aspects that will allow you to come closer to a functional understanding of where your fuel comes from is polarity.
Okay.
Make sure, like just observe your past experiences relative to what you're thinking now, relative to what you're trying to build now. Identify the polarity there. Identify, okay, did I go through something that caused me to do this? Did I go through something that made me want to be different? Polarity is always a good point of reference when it comes to identifying why you are where you are. So I would just say, focus on that. That's going to help you greatly when it comes to determining why you are where you are.
So, the way I'll wrap it up, I do want to say the most important thing from my perspective that I said today was understanding that all decisions are made based on love and fear. Okay, so love and fear are pretty much the ultimate polarity. So understand why you do the things that you do. Understand if you're immobilized, it's probably because you're scared, because sometimes people don't like to admit fear. It's not a cool thing to do. But understand that fear dictates a lot of the things in your life, and don't allow it to do that. It doesn't, I don't want to use the terms right or wrong. I'd rather go fear and love, because we can give any example of, a love being, you can make a decision where you feel like you're protecting your family. I can make a decision where I feel like I'm protecting my family. We both doing it out of love or fear, but we both feel right.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily like to use the terms right or wrong, but
it's subjective.
Yeah, because it's very subjective. Yeah. But I do like to focus on love and fear, because love is the ultimate creator. You work from love, and you're always going to be abundant. That's where abundance grows from. You work from fear, it's going to immobilize you, and everything you're going to do is going to get smaller, or even if you're not growing, you're still shrinking. So from polarity, for me, the most important aspect of it is to understand, to operate from love, lead with love, teach from love, and eliminate your fear by any means necessary. I understand that that's a process.
Or control it.
Yeah, or control it, or use it to your advantage. That's a whole nother conversation. But that's pretty much what I'm saying. Operate from love. Don't allow the fear to stop you from doing anything, because you can do anything that you put your mind to as long as you believe it in your heart. And I want to leave it with that. Like you said, football's coming on. I'm going to go check out the game.
Yeah, man. We got to get to that too, man.
Yeah.
I just want to thank y'all, man. I want to thank, the viewers that have been with us, the viewers that have been watching us, supporting us. I just want to thank y'all, for your time, giving us your time. That means a lot. We're trying to really build this thing out and really trying to affect lives and do something substantial. So we just want to thank y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Keep tuning in. We got some surprises for you. Got some guests coming up. A whole lot of fun stuff is going to be happening as we move towards the winter and the fall and all of that. So just getting all the kinks worked out. But everything's going to be great. You guys have a great day. Remember, Mental Radar. Check us out. Life Changers. You can follow the business page, life_changers_LLC on Instagram, or you can follow that page on Facebook. And like I said, just check us out. We'll be back next week with some amazing content for you. And you guys have a great night.
All right, look, have a great night and stay stable. All right.
All right.